Normally, equivalent products that imitate the products of well-known brands are crappier compared to their originals. Material quality drops, features decrease, and you get what you pay for with the low price you paid. But this time, it is definitely not like that. The product I will talk to you about today is a mouse, ATK Dragonfly A9 Plus. Don't worry, this video is not sponsored. I bought the product myself, I've been using it for a long time, and I want you to watch the video knowing this. And I can clearly say that after this video, you won't be able to look at the Logitech G Pro X Superlight the same way again. When this lightweight mouse craze first started years ago, seeing a 60-gram mouse was truly exciting. It wasn't hard to understand why. After all, the lighter the mouse, the easier it is to move. And when the mouse moves easier, you can react better to opponents that suddenly appear in front of you in esports games. That's why it was quite normal for these products to suddenly enter our lives and attract attention. But of course, like everything, this has some downsides too. Some of the biggest problems were price, comfort, and battery. After all, research and development is quite expensive. Every plastic part that wouldn't affect the mouse's operation was considered an excess. Since it was possible to just plug in a cable, batteries were ultimately seen as unnecessary burden for mice. With each new version, different brands started to fix some of these issues. Glorious solved the accessibility problem, Logitech turned that weird perforated design into something more pleasing to the eye, and Razer popularized the USB-C port. At the same time, improvements were made in lacking areas like the battery, so we started seeing both lightweight and long-lasting mice more frequently on the market, but there was still one unresolved issue left: price. Yes, you can find affordable mice, but as the price drops, this time other downsides emerge. Design problems solved in more expensive models, a weak battery, or no battery at all still appear in cheap models. That's why the words lightweight mouse and cheap couldn't come together for a long time, until the ATK Dragonfly A9 Plus came out. Actually, it's quite logical to see such a development in this field, because once the things an ordinary player would want in terms of features and battery are met, naturally only the price remains. After all, unless you're a professional player who frequently participates in tournaments, I don't think you really need a mouse that costs 1/5 of the money you spend on your computer. Therefore, when this price gap is closed, the void in the lightweight mouse market is completely filled. But ATK went one step further here. How so? Like this. On top of the G Pro X Superlight, whose shape it borrowed, it manages to add extra features despite being much cheaper. It might sound hard to believe right now, so let's start without further ado. It comes in a quite simple box. When you open the box, we first get the mouse itself. Alongside it, there's a braided cable with USB-C on one end and USB-A on the other. Also, a pack of grip tape comes out that you can stick on for better grip. The first thing you'll notice the moment you take the product in your hand is this: it has the exact same shape as the G Pro X Superlight 2. Same shape, same length, same height. In fact, even though it's cheaper, it's 3 grams lighter. This might not be a very noticeable difference, but it's still a nice detail. One of the most important elements in a mouse is how it fits in the hand, meaning its shape. If you buy a mouse and plan to spend a lot of time with it, it needs to sit comfortably in your hand. The design compatibility for claw, palm, and fingertip grip styles is different for each, but it's still possible to offer these 3 in a good balance. The exact reason why the G Pro X Superlight, from which this mouse takes its shape, is loved by some and completely disliked by others is exactly this. It still has that famous potato shape designed to accommodate all 3 grip styles. And its highest point is right in the middle of the mouse. In general terms, it has a quite rounded structure. We tested each of these 3 grip styles, and I can say the shape fits the hand quite well. Specifically, the claw and fingertip grip is really good. But with the palm grip, people with large hands might experience issues in some scenarios. So if your hand isn't too big, you don't need to worry. However, if you have more specific expectations regarding mouse shape, or if the example I just gave fits you exactly, other mice might be a better choice for you. Other than that, the textured surface called Ice Feel feels really good, and it doesn't slip in the hand at all. This is a feature that the Superlight doesn't have. When you apply pressure to its plastic case, there is no wobbling or clicking anywhere. It also doesn't make a sound when you shake it, so even though it's lightweight, it feels quite sturdy and high quality in the hand. Its skates are also quite high quality. I can say that we're quite close to the peak as far as design goes. The design problem is solved. Next up is another issue that needs to be solved: performance. But before that, if this video is helpful so far, you can support my channel by dropping a like or subscribing if you haven't already. The switches used in the left and right clicks are Huano Iceberry Pink Dot. The clicks feel really good. The travel distance is also great. But the main determining factor in today's gaming mice is the sensor and the sensor's polling rate value. Now, looking at the polling rate side, 8000 Hz is presented as if it's the gold standard for esports games today. G Pro X Superlight 2 is 8000 Hz. This mouse's upgraded model, the ATK A9 Pro, is 8000 Hz. Many more expensive mice you can buy are also 8000 Hz. But to be honest, this is quite unnecessary for most people. I'm not just saying this to praise the product. In daily use, the difference is too little to be noticed anyway. In fact, the bad part is this. Because the sensitivity increases, the possibility of making mistakes due to the tiniest differences while aiming also increases. So while playing games at high hertz values, you might not be able to hit the enemy just because of these tiny mistakes. Therefore, even some people using 8000 Hz supported mice prefer to revert to the 1000 Hz level, which makes more sense for most people. Even the vast majority of professional esports players still use their mice at the 1000 Hz. And this mouse's maximum hertz value is exactly this, 1000 Hz. In our tests, we saw that it can deliver this uninterruptedly both in 2.4 GHz mode and wired mode. I definitely quite liked its sensor. Probably nobody plans to game in Bluetooth mode, but for those who wonder, let me state that you can only get a steady 125 Hz when connected via Bluetooth. Yes, I said Bluetooth. This is another plus compared to the G Pro X Superlight 2. I know it might sound a bit weird at first to present this as a plus since I just said a maximum of 125 Hz, but for example, if you want to use a single mouse both to work on your laptop without a USB-A port and to play games on your desktop at home, I think it's a nice plus in this price range. As I said, Bluetooth mode is not present in the expensive Superlight. On the ATK A9 Plus, you can switch between 2.4 GHz mode and Bluetooth mode via the switch under the mouse. And when you connect it to the computer with the cable out of the box, it automatically switches to wired mode. But there is a slightly weird detail about this cable, or rather, the port section. Yes, it has a USB-C port as it's the standard for today, and I like that this port is not under the mouse. But because of the position of the plastic around the port, only USB-C cables with thinner edges fit here, just like the cable out of the box. So unfortunately, you cannot experience that convenience of charging multiple devices with a single cable if you don't have a USB-C cable with thin edges. Still, I don't think this will be a huge problem. Because even when all settings are at max, I experienced a battery drain of around 1% per hour. When you dial the settings to a more balanced level, according to ATK, it offers a battery life between 240 and 300 hours. This is really a great duration, so the issue on the hardware and battery life side is solved here too. Mouse control software is generally a huge problem across the entire industry, even beyond lightweight mice. With issues like starting to install as soon as you plug the mouse in like malware, draining system resources in the background, and the possibility of selling your data, it becomes quite unpleasant. But I wouldn't be exaggerating if I say this mouse and ATK in general are pioneers in the industry in this regard. The name of the software where we tweak the settings is ATK Hub. Its absolute biggest plus is this: it can be opened through an internet browser without requiring any installation. You just enter the site, click Add New Device, grant the site device access permission in the browser's permission window, and the process is complete. There is nothing running in the background, bothering you with unnecessary updates, or slowing down the computer. Here you can assign custom binds or macros to all buttons of the mouse, including the right and left clicks. You can edit your DPI presets, and you can change the polling rate. It's also possible to switch to the Juesha software to change the sampling rate. My only issue is that the Mac's or Linux support isn't very good. You don't experience any issues while using it with a Mac, but it should be noted that the main purpose of the mouse is not to be used on a Mac. Despite this, I use this mouse in my daily life, and I use this as a single mouse for both my Windows and Mac devices, and I haven't experienced any problems yet. Speaking of problems, I also want to mention this. Like I said, I haven't had any issues with this mouse. I can say that with ease. But I saw a few comments in the product reviews saying there were some issues with the mouse and that these issues were fixed with a software update. Just so you know. If you're planning to buy the mouse, don't forget to update the software after buying it. After solving all these problems, we have come to perhaps the most critical point. Price. The ATK Dragonfly A9 Plus model I'm holding in my hand can currently be found on many sites for around $40. The G Pro X Superlight, on the other hand, is sold at levels around $160 in places like Best Buy and Amazon. So you can get the experience it offers at a price 4 times lower than it. Moreover, you get to have many extra features like Bluetooth on top of it. Also, there are a few different models of this mouse. A more affordable lower model, the base A9, might perhaps catch your interest as well. There are some minor differences between the two models like texture, battery life, and weight, but that model is a tad cheaper than this one. Just mentioned it so you know. You can check out the other models of the A9 too. If you're looking for a mouse for gaming and working on the computer, and if you're looking for an affordable yet high quality mouse, I don't think you should miss this. So looking at the overall picture in front of me, it's genuinely hard not to praise this mouse. It's quite good to have such a product where the problems we see in lightweight mice are solved, and this is surprisingly offered at an affordable price. It's a very high score for me. I definitely recommend it. And so we've come to the end of this video. Don't forget to write your thoughts and critiques about this mouse in the comments. Also, if you have any experience with mice that would help other people, feel free to share it in the comments. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If not, feel free to dislike it. Stay mysterious until the next video. Take care, and bye.